Welcome to Mind Body Monday. It's really lovely to have you all here, and I see we have some new faces. So welcome to Mind Body Monday. I'm very excited because the lineup today is going to be highly experiential because we're going to explore the topic of stress and your gut. You're going to learn my one favorite and quickest way to calm your mind and to settle your gut. You're going to learn my quickest and favorite way also to activate your brain and de-stress in a phenomenal way that's pretty accessible to most people. So stay tuned. And then lastly, I'm going to share with you the secret sauce of what to sprinkle on your salads or into your soups that will enhance your gut and help you to de-stress. So it's really, really lovely to have you all here. And I'm just reminded on Mind Body Monday, I always like to begin with a story. And this is from one of the first patients I ever saw. She was a 48-year-old woman who came to see me suffering from digestive issues that she was suffering for many, many years. The majority of foods that she would eat would cause her stomach pain, cramping attacks, or just the runs. Most of her gut symptoms kept her at home and she'd need urgent visits to the bathroom. As you can imagine, she did not have much of a social life. Her situation was made much, much worse because of the tremendous emotional stress and pressure that she was under at the time. She'd been to many specialists and was not getting the help she needed. In fact, there was only more medication piled on, which didn't seem to help things. I'm going to come back to her in a little bit because some of the strategies that you are going to learn with me today on Mind Body Monday are the same strategies that I used with her. For those of you who are first timers, welcome. My name is Avraham Gundle, founder and director for the Center for Integrated Medicine. I'm trained as an osteopath, and I've been involved in functional and integrated medicine for the last 30 years. And I've been privileged to help many, many patients recover or go into full remission from a whole host of chronic health conditions, be it digestive related, anxiety, autoimmune, eczema, asthma, etc. So our topic today is about stress. Now, most of us will realize that a little bit of stress is a great thing. In fact, without stress, life will be pretty dull and boring. The only question is how much, because a little bit of stress is a good thing. Babies grow their bones by crawling on the floor because it's that physical stress on their bones that help their bones grow. By the way, this is one of the reasons why weight-bearing exercises are critical at the other end of the age spectrum to prevent and treat osteoporosis. Weight-bearing exercise is a healthy form of stress that helps the bones get stronger. Now, we all are different and we all handle stress in very different ways. And there are lots of skills and strategies to handle that. And this is not the focus of today. The issue is sustained high stress will quickly erode the immune system, bring our mood down, and upset the gut. And that's just the bottom line. Because there's something called the gut-brain connection and the gut-brain axis. And the best analogy I have to explain it is a baby in the mother's womb. Everything the mother feels, thinks, tastes, experiences, the baby will experience as well because the baby is really part of the mother's body. So that's pretty much how to see our gut. Everything that we think about, experience in our life, physically and emotionally, will impact our gut immediately. And this is because of the phenomenon called the gut-brain axis, which is mediated by one cranial nerve. One nerve that comes from the brain and travels all the way through the gut. And I'll share a little bit more about that in a minute, because we're going to get very practical. But in order to recognize why this will help you, I wanted to share a little bit of some science and research with you so you'll understand the practical measures that we're going to take together and how that will help you. So there was some fascinating research that showed that stress, physical and emotional stress, anxiety and depression actually reshaped the gut microbiome. And if you've been following me through Mind Body Monday, if you haven't, check out previous episodes, but I've been talking a lot of the microbiome. And the stress changes the composition of these bacteria in the gut through hormones and through inflammation. And it turns out, the research shows, is that the bacteria release toxins, chemicals, and what are called neurohormones that can actually push a person in the direction of how they eat and the choices they make. Now, let's just pause for a minute. That isn't to say we don't have choice. Of course, we have choice. We do. But this does show the interconnectedness of the mind and the body and stress on the bacteria in our gut that actually can influence the patterns and choices a person could be drawn after if they're not conscious of that. So the gut-brain connection is mediated through what's called the vagus nerve. So the secret to having a calm, anxious-free mind and happy gut is your vagus nerve. Let's do a quick deep dive very quickly, and then we'll get practical how this actually works. The vagus nerve is, as mentioned, is part of this gut-brain axis. And think of it like a two-way highway that starts in the brain and travels all the way down to the colon and beyond. And in place of cars in this two-way highway, it's filled with chemical messengers, feel-good hormones like dopamine and serotonin, which I'm going to get to shortly, and also the hormone GABA. Now, for those of you who are wondering what the word vagus actually means, I'll take a little bit of a detour, as you'll see why. When I was studying osteopathic medicine, understanding a little bit of Latin was always helpful. In fact, when I was at high school, I also studied some Latin there. So the word vagus means wandering. And you can see the connection with words like vagrant, vagabond, vague, or for those Scrabble pundits, divagation, which means to wander or stray away from a course or subject, a little bit like what I've done just now. So this vagus nerve starts in the brain and wanders all through the thorax, the heart, the digestive systems, the stomach, and pelvic organs. And its role, what's the job of the vagus nerve? It's needed to regulate important things that keep us alive, like our heart rate, breathing, sweating, facial expressions, contracting the muscles in the intestines in order to help digestion, and many, many, many more things. When we experience stress, the brain sends stress hormones right down the vagus nerve to the gut. So what this means is, what happens in Vegas does not stay in Vegas. What I mean by that is that if you have stressful thoughts or images that you replay in your mind, they will absolutely affect your gut and affect your brain and mood through this vagus nerve. So stimulation of this vagus nerve can confer many health qualities and benefits. But when it's not working optimally, a person can have a major health crisis. For example, a condition called gastroparesis, where there's a slow emptying of the gut. And this can result in a bacterial overgrowth, a condition like SIBO. And there are many other causes for SIBO. And an unstimulated vagus nerve can produce anxiety, panic attacks, even ringing in the ears, feelings of isolation and depression, weight gain and obesity, etc., IBS, and a whole host of other conditions. In previous trainings, in fact, I was interviewed recently about strategies that you can use to directly help the vagus. Again, this is not the subject of today's Mind Body Monday, but just to let you know that there are things to do. So while more research is needed to be done in investigating all the ways that the vagus nerve can impact our health, we do know that it is a major player in what's called the parasympathetic nervous system. This is known as the rest and digest part of our nervous system. And this parasympathetic nervous system, which I'm going to say PNS for now, brings our body back into balance after stress is activated. And it helps our nervous system to rest, and it helps our digestive system to digest. Hence, rest and digest for the name. So one of the quickest ways I know to restore balance to the vagus nerve is through breath. And through the technique and practice that I'm going to share with you shortly, it will calm the mind and relax the digestive system. So through that, you'll be able to better digest, absorb all the nutrients you're eating and get them into your bloodstream, which will lead to happy, healthy cells and a happy, healthy body. So this technique is called the soft belly breathing practice. Now, the reason I use the word practice is because you're going to get exposed to it here today, and then you may never do it again. And that's your choice. And my recommendation is, and part of my gut healing program, is to encourage people to develop a culture, to develop a practice of healthful strategies as part of your daily routine, be it in the morning, afternoon, or evening. But doing one of these things just once off is nice, but it's not going to have the benefit you need. Just as an aside, because we are talking about the vagus nerve, I studied Kung Fu, and my teacher was very strong at practicing the moves, so that if a person is caught off guard, then the natural response will be a proper defensive or offensive response rather than having to think about it. So this is part of what I'm showing you and inviting with you today, is really to become deliberate and intentional about a daily health practice. And this could be one of the strategies that you may want to use. So in going back many years, I met Dr. James Gordon from the Center for Mind-Body Medicine in Washington, and I did a full 3-year training in mind-body medicine with him. And he invited me to teach on his faculty as well. But that's besides the point. I want to share with you this soft belly breathing practice, which I learned from Dr. Gordon. And there are 4 specific benefits from practicing soft belly breathing. The first is it regulates the parasympathetic nervous system, which is the rest and digest part of our brain and body. And that promotes healing in the brain, calms our emotions, and helps our digestion. The soft belly breathing also balances the vagus nerve, which relaxes the intestinal tract and promotes, once again, digestion and absorption of the foods we're eating. The soft belly breathing also helps you to relax and counteract cortisol, which is a harmful stress hormone that causes inflammation in the body. So this technique will help reduce that. And then lastly, it calms the emotions by increasing oxygen, which will help stimulate blood flow in the brain. So I'm just curious, just before we experience the soft belly breathing practice, just take a moment now and just notice how your body is feeling this moment. How's your mood? How's your energy levels? And how's your digestive system, your gut feeling? And go ahead and just post in the chat. If you see me looking over to the side, that's because I've got 2 screens and I can get to have a look at the chat this way. So go ahead, just type in the chat. What do you notice in your body right now? Sitting here in the Zoom session, what do you notice? Just type in the chat. Are you feeling stressed? Is your digestive system bothering you? What's your mood like? And as you're typing in the chat, The soft belly breathing process will take us maybe 4 to 5 minutes. I sometimes teach it in longer classes and part of my gut program, maybe in 10 or 15-minute increments, but this is just a taster. So the first thing to do is just to loosen any tight clothing. And this is an experiential process. So I invite you, if it's safe to close your eyes, i.e. you're not driving, etc., then I invite you to do that. So some people have written in the chat, and thank you for doing that. I'm relaxed and comfortable. Wonderful. You in the right place. Someone else has written, stress, tense, no energy. And you too are in the right place. And someone's written, stress, stomach hurts a bit, and very tired. Well, I'm really happy you're here because that's what really mind body is about. And you're going to be learning some key skills that I personally practice in my life and teach in my gut health program. And someone's written in, have a bothered digestive tract right now from a very spicy salad on Purim. Okay, I get it. Okay. So thank you for sharing, and continue to share, please, in the chat, anything that comes up. So first thing is we tend to keep our digestive system guarded and tense, just an unconscious way to keep ourselves protected. So I invite you all to loosen any clothing or tight belts or whatnot around the waist. This is an eyes closed, and if you're more comfortable with an eyes open process, the only reason we close eyes is just to help focus your awareness more inside your body. So when you're ready, taking a nice deep cleansing breath in through your nose, and as you breathe out, to soften your shoulders and drop them down. And then once again, another nice deep cleansing breath in. And as you breathe out, feel your back against the back of the chair. And continue to breathe at a pace and rate that's natural and comfortable for you. And taking a moment to scan your body from the top all the way down to the toes. And bring your awareness to your scalp. That's the skin covering your head. Just allow your scalp to soften and relax. And bring that through to your forehead and face. Let your face be soft and relaxed. Scanning now through the back of your neck and your jaw. These areas soften and relax. And then bringing the relaxation down through the chest and into your stomach, and inviting this part of your body to relax. Just feel the gentle rise and fall of your abdomen with your breath. And bring your awareness to the muscles of your legs, to your feet, and to your toes. Very good. Allowing your whole body to gently ease into relaxing more and more. Now you can deepen your relaxation by returning your attention to your belly and allowing your belly to be soft. When the belly is soft, the breathing naturally deepens. It's more efficient, more relaxed, and all the other muscles in your body begin to relax as well. So when you breathe in, think the word soft. And when you breathe out, think the word belly. If you have ever noticed how a baby breathes, they breathe into their tiny, cute little baby bellies. This is called diaphragmatic breathing. It allows more oxygen into your body and more oxygen to your brain, and this way your body can get to de-stress and relax. So breathing in, thinking the word soft, and breathing out, thinking the word belly. This also reminds us to have a soft belly, but also equally important, it's a focus for the mind. As with the mind, it tends to do its own thing. In this way, you're able to harness your focus through these two words. Breathing in soft, breathing out belly. Continue just for 1 minute on your own. Breathing in through the nose, soft, and breathing out through the mouth, belly. And if thoughts come, just let them come, let them go, and bring your mind back to soft belly. And that we take the time to be still and quiet with ourselves. Thoughts come, let them go, and come back to your breath. And just taking a couple more breaths. And when you're ready, very slowly, wiggling around your fingers and toes, allowing your eyes to softly open if you wish, with a gentle smile on your lips, and then coming back to the Zoom session. And I'm just curious, for those of you who did the exercise, not only listened, but processed it, go ahead and type in the chat. What did you notice? What was difficult? What was easy? Was there a difference before and how your body felt before doing the soft belly breathing practice, or how it is right now? Take a moment, just type in the chat what you experienced. Very good. And as you're doing that, this is a practice, and a quick way to bring this into your life is maybe before a meal, 1 meal a day, simply to sit down mindfully, appreciating the fragrances and colors and tastes and textures of your food, and do the soft belly just for 3 breaths for 1 meal. That way you'll be able to integrate this, and over a month, you may have done that 30 times. And it becomes as part of the background of how you walk your walk in the world. So someone's written in that their tummy hurts much less than before and in a different place. Very good. Excellent. And this was just 3 or 4 minutes. I'm not sure there's any medication can do that so quickly without side effects. And someone's written in, very easy when someone else says it to you. That's true, and I have meditations recorded for you to download and use as well. Amazing. And then someone else has written, I breathed more open, but not too deeply, but felt it was right and less controlled. Very good. Excellent. Excellent. I invite you to continue. So as we transition to a different energy now, to the second practice, which is scientifically shown to reduce stress, regulate your health, and calm the parasympathetic nervous system. And it is a kind of an exercise. I don't want to give too much away, because I'd like to share with you a video. Now, I have patients coming from all over the country and also consulting with me on Zoom all over the world. And sometimes I actually use the time if I've sent them the video and they haven't watched it, because it's so important. It's a 9-minute research-based fun video that will introduce you to a form of exercise that is so accessible and so easy. And I'm just wondering how many of you are actually bringing exercise or do exercise in your day or in your week. Go ahead and just type in the chat. I'm just curious. How many of you are actually doing, if you do exercise, what do you do? How often do you do it a week? Because the fastest one of the fastest ways to de-stress our bodies, our minds, is through exercise. It also is fantastic for gut health. So if you have a gut issue, then appropriate exercise is so important. So go ahead and type in the chat. Let me know what exercise you do or how often you do it. So we're going to do something slightly different. Since this is about a 9-minute video, I would like to invite each of you to stand up. I'm going to remain sitting just in a minute because I'm going to set it up. But for the duration of this video, I would like for you to stand up and literally, gently, in your own pace and own way, walk in place. I'm going to be doing that shortly as I'm going to set up the video. Very good. If those of you got your screens on, that's amazing. I can see you, I can guide you. And for those of you who don't, that's okay too. If you want to turn them on, that's fine. The idea here, this is not a highly aerobic. Here we have Ruthie Feldman, who has already started. The idea is just to walk in place. Instead of sitting on our backsides, let's just walk in place. Very good, Hannah, you've started. That's amazing. If any of you want to turn on your video, you can. I'm going to share with you the video, and I'm going to do that myself. And I may even guide you through it a little bit. So bear with me while I set this up. Okay. Turn up your volume so you can hear.
Hi, I'm Dr. Mike Evans, and welcome to this visual lecture I'm calling 23.5 hours. So I have a big interest in preventive medicine, which can mean a lot of things from, cancer screening to eating more fiber to having a good social network. And I mean that in the old sense of the word. Weighing less, drinking less, smoking less, controlling your blood pressure, cholesterol, and so on and so forth.
At the same time.
So all these things are incredibly important, and I wouldn't want you to minimize your efforts in any one category. But I want to know what comes first. What has the biggest impact? What has the biggest return on investment? What makes the biggest difference to your health? So I did my research, and I found an answer, at least for me, and it's tricky because all these things are sort of overlapping. But I picked out this intervention, and because of its breadth, it worked for so many different health problems, and that's what I found so cool about it. So just to kind of walk you through a quick list. So this intervention in patients with knee arthritis who receive 1 hour of treatment 3 times a week reduced their rates of pain and disability by 47%. In older patients, it reduced progression to dementia and Alzheimer's by around 50%. For patients at high risk of diabetes and coupled with other lifestyle interventions, it reduced progression to frank diabetes by 58%.
Up and down on your toes is fine too.
Postmenopausal woman who had 4 hours a week of the treatment had a 41% reduction in the risk of hip fracture. It reduced anxiety by 48% in a big meta-analysis. Patients suffering from depression, 30% were relieved with low dose, and that bumped to 47% as we increased the dose. Following over 10,000 Harvard alumni for over 12 years, those that had the intervention had a 23% lower risk of death than those who didn't get the treatment. It's the #1 treatment of fatigue, and of course the kind of outcome of choice there, my favorite outcome is quality of life, which is really all of the above and really about making your life better. And this treatment has been shown over and over again to improve quality of life. So the question is, what's the medicine, and what is 23.5 hours? So the medicine was exercise, mostly walking, so not triathlons. And let me just put it a different way. I think what I'm asking you to do is, if you think about your typical day, so there's 24 hours, and so you might spend most of your day, this varies obviously, but couch surfing, sitting at work, obviously sleeping. And what the evidence that I'm going to show you kind of tells me is the best thing you can do for your health is to spend half an hour being active, maybe an hour, and that if you can do that, you can realize all the benefits I've described in the previous slides. So let's just take a quick walk through some of the literature. So Stephen Blair, he's a professor at the Arnold School of Public Health at the University of South Carolina, and he looked at this in what's called the Aerobic Center Longitudinal Study, which followed over 50,000 men and women over time. And along the left side of this graph is something called attributable uncontrollable fractions, which is a kind of fancy word, but it's the estimate of the number of deaths in a population that would have been avoided if that specific risk factor had been erased. So for example, turning a smoker into a non-smoker, or a couch potato into a daily walker. And along the bottom is the typical risk factors. You can see the hypertension is incredibly important, and
Keep
so on and so
walking,
forth. But the one that was
going up and down on
most,
your
that kind of
toes.
applied the most risk, was this sort of mysterious CRF, which is cardiorespiratory fitness, which is really low fitness. So low fitness was the strongest predictor of death. And this is important. Most of the trials we see, to be honest, are funded by pharma or other companies because they've got a drug for hypertension or high cholesterol or diabetes, and we rarely see fitness thrown into the mix. And so it's nice to see a trial that's not so siloed. Blair's work is interesting. He also did another trial looking at obesity. What he found was, sort of two things. One is obesity and no
Go ahead and
exercise.
walk
That's a
on
very bad
the
combination, and that's where
walk
we
in
saw
place or up and
many of
down
the
on your
negative
toes.
consequences of obesity
Keep
from a
going.
health
If you need
point
to
of view.
rest.
But if the obese person was active, even if they didn't have the weight loss, but were just active and obese, that was much, much better, and that the exercise ameliorated much of the negative consequences of obesity. So if exercise is a medicine, what's a dose? So when I think of dose, I think of how long, how often, and how intense. I'm going to give you a slightly mixed message, but essentially more activity is better. But I must say the rate of return seems to decline after 20 or 30 minutes a day. So if you're being active less than 150 minutes a week, or more if you're a kid, an hour a day if you're a kid, my flag goes up in the clinic. So
Doing great. Keep going.
my personal take on this is that the literature draws a very broad brush, and so we see big differences when somebody goes from not doing anything to doing something, and after that the return is more granular. So if we took the Nurses' Health Study, women who went from zero activity to just 1 hour a week reduced their heart disease rates by almost half. So you can break it down, so it can be 10 minutes, 10 minutes, 10 minutes if you want to do 30 minutes of exercise, so it can be broken into 3. Higher intensity, it looks like it's equivalent to less time with lower intensity. But I think obviously the clinical pearl is mostly thinking about your style and habits and your personal cues. So if you're only going to do it if it's pre-booked with friends, I have couples that take a half-hour walk every morning or evening to organize their life. A dog is a great walking coach. The data is showing 67% of dog walkers achieve the 150 minutes a week just with the dog walking. And finally, of course, your commute, getting off stop early, taking the stairs, and so on and so forth. So thinking about that, I'm just going to walk you through some quick slices of the literature. The first one comes from Japan.
Keep going.
In the 90s, Japan required all employers to conduct annual health screenings for their employees. And so a large gas company in Japan called Osaka used this to answer a great question. So if people's walk to work was longer, did that reduce their chance of serious health problems? So in this example, high blood pressure. And what they found is under 10-minute walk, no difference. 11 to 20-minute walk, 12% reduction in rates of high blood pressure or hypertension. And over 21-minute walk, a 29% decrease in rates of high blood pressure. So the authors calculated that for every increase of 10 minutes in your walk to work, there was a 12% reduction in the likelihood of getting high blood pressure. The second exhibit is looking at stents. So this is something we commonly do down medicine. So you can see on the left here the artery's blocked. On the right, a vascular surgeon's gone in and put in a balloon, opened it up, and left a stent to keep it open, which makes great sense. So a German researcher named Rainer Hambrecht looked at this with about 100 cardiac patients. He got half the group to exercise, and by that I mean 20 minutes a day on an exercise bicycle and then once weekly 60-minute aerobics class. And the other half got the high-tech stent and just their sort of normal activity. And after 1 year, 88% of the exercises were event-free compared to 70% of the people that got a stent. So both worked, but I find it sort of incredible that the low tech made a bigger difference. And you have to remember that the stent just fixes one part of the heart. The next way to think about it is the reverse. So what I call sitting disease. We know that being sedentary is bad for your health, but a researcher named Leonard Veerman wanted to quantify this, and he did so down in Australia in a big study they did there. They found, compared with persons who watch no TV, those that spend a lifetime average of 6 hours a day watching TV can expect to live about 5 years left. I mean, that's incredible. But then I think, who watches 6 hours a day of TV? And it turns out the average adult in the USA spends about 5 hours a day watching TV or screens. So I find this fascinating that we never think of the TV as something that's bad for our health, but
1 minute to
clearly it's as
go. You're
powerful
doing
as many
great. Keep
other
moving
risk
your body.
factors for chronic disease. So I'm just going to leave you with, well, I guess two quotes. So one is Jerry Garcia, the singer who was the lead singer for the Grateful Dead, and he said somebody has to do something. It's just incredibly pathetic that has to be us, and I think that's true. That in some ways it has to be us, as Hippocrates said, walking is man's best medicine. And so I'm going to finish by asking you a question. And this may have some personal challenges for you. So, you might be very busy with work or kids or both, and you may be in pain or have other priorities. But my question to you is, can you limit your sitting and sleeping to just 23.5 hours a day? So something to think about. Thank you very much.
Well done. Well done, everybody. That's amazing. Take a seat for a moment. Firstly, well done to all of you for playing along and giving yourself an extra lease of life by moving your body for just 9 minutes and 15 seconds extra than you would have than sitting and watching this Zoom Mind Body Monday. Just take a moment and close your eyes for a minute and just notice how your body feels after standing and walking very gently as you did. What do you notice? Type in the chat. How does your mind feel? How does your mood feel? How does your body feel? What do you notice? Great. Some people have written in what they do in terms of exercise 5 times a week with 1 HIIT, high intensity. That was wonderful. How often? That was so easy. Why didn't I do it before? Good question. Welcome to Mind Body Monday. And feeling much better, much happier. Thank you. Thank you, Hannah, for writing that in. It's true. It's true. So once again, well done for actually doing it, because the focus here, it's about developing a practice. Watching the video is interesting. It's research-based. It's inspiring. But what about tomorrow or the day after, day after? In fact, I have a patient that visits me every month to do a check-in with me. I'm following him up for the year. And whenever I ask him, how did you get on with exercise this week or this month? He would say, oh, it was too hot, or it was too cold, it was too windy. And I remember when I was hiking in the Lake District in the UK, it was a camping store. It's something to do with the name, like there's no such thing as inclement weather, only poor clothing, choice of clothing. I myself pretty much walk every single day for a set period of time. And I bought myself on Amazon a couple of years ago an all-weather suit, one of those ones the oil riggers wear. And I've been out in storm and hail and thunder and lightning, and I'll take a shade under a tree for a little bit, but I'll just carry on walking, because if I'm warm and dry, that's all I really need. So it's really a decision. So I invite each one of you to really make a decision. And if you're not doing something, just really, tomorrow's a new day, you can get started. So as we transition to the last section of Mind Body Monday, just invite you once again to take a nice deep soft belly breath in, and as you breathe out, relax your belly, drop your shoulders down. And the third secret sauce that I mentioned at the beginning is really a strategy that I use pretty much most days in my meals, 2 to 3 times a day, or at least once or twice, because this de-stressing practice, it will really help the digestive system. And it's to add prebiotic fibers to your diet twice a day, once or twice a day. Prebiotics are plant fibers that are not fully digested by the body, and instead they travel to the digestive tract, where they provide a food source to healthy bacteria called the probiotics. I'm sure you've heard about that, but what most people don't know is that these probiotics need a substrate. They need a substance to grow off and feed on. And when these probiotics are in a healthy space, they affect our mood in a very, very positive direction, our immune system and our gut, and keep our mind and body in a healthy way. In fact, in my clinic, there are a number of therapists who work there, and one of the therapists was watching my Mind Body Monday when I was talking about probiotics, and I went to much more detail in my monthly Inner Circle program. And she had advised one of her patients who was suffering from anxiety and on medication. And anxiety was increasing, and she didn't really want to increase her medications, but that was the only option as she thought. So this therapist recommended, why not just add some prebiotic fibers to your diet and let's see how you do. And it was in a relatively short space of time that her energy came back and her mood stabilized. What people forget is that 50% of the dopamine, which is a neurotransmitter, and 95% of serotonin are made in the digestive system and not in the brain. So serotonin is a mood stabilizer that regulates and also regulates healthy sleep patterns. And dopamine plays a key role in how we feel pleasure, experience well-being, and focus and strive for interesting things. So these are gut-mediated hormones. So the easiest way to do that is what I like to do is I ground up flax seeds, chia seeds, and hemp seeds, which you can buy online. And then I just keep that in the freezer, and I make up a batch for a week or so, and then I just add a tablespoon to my meals. And this provides the food for the probiotics that will be able to do their magic. Let's take another nice, deep, soft belly breath in. Breathing in. And as you breathe out, let your belly relax and your shoulders relax. Now, I don't know if some of you are wondering what happened to that patient of mine from Netanya. So several months after she started my full gut healing program, she rang me and said, Avraham, guess where I am? So she actually called me from the communal garden to the entrance of a building. She lived on the top floor and was in charge of building maintenance, which included tending to the entrance garden. She loved pruning the garden and the roses, geraniums there, but was unable to do so for many, many months because of her extreme bowel condition. So she called me from the garden to tell me that she was pruning the flowers. I was ecstatic, and for her, this was a major, major accomplishment. And a few weeks later, she rang me again, and I got another opportunity to play the guessing game. And she said to me, where am I now, do you think? And she had actually rung me from one of the big malls here in Israel, in Jerusalem, where she was out for the first time in 18 months with friends, shopping for the first time. This was a major victory for her along her healing journey. And I'm reminding myself and sharing the story with you because some of these interventions, they're not just, they might seem simplistic, but there's deep science behind them. And the key focus here is to develop a deliberate and intentional practice. It's not that you do exercise, but that you identify and see yourself as an exerciser. I am an exerciser. Once it becomes your identity, that's who you are, then snow, hail, hot or cold, you will go out. Just to do a very quick summary, and then we're going to close with a weekly challenge. Our gut and brain are interconnected and hardwired through the vagus nerve. The soft belly breathing practice helps to de-stress the brain and enhance digestion. And then adding prebiotics can support mood, your immune system, and give you a healthy gut so that during times of stress, you'll be able to recover quicker and get through without being thrown off too much. Remember that knowledge of these things I've shared with you is not power. It's only power potential. doing trumps knowledge every time. In fact, someone once said, if you're not doing it, you don't know it. So remember, health is about developing a deliberate, intentional practice. So with that in mind, just before I end, I'd like to end with a weekly challenge for those of you who are up for it. To practice soft belly breathing just once at a meal, well, 3 times, but just once a day at one meal. So you can choose which meal that is. So to do 3 breaths, soft belly breathing, 1 meal, once a day for 7 days. And I'll be curious to hear how you get on. You can always email me or let us know next week. And the second option, if you're not doing an exercise, and begin an exercise program, keep it simple, just make a start. And once again, in closure, just thanks once again for joining me on Mind Body Monday. I look forward to seeing you next week. And just remember that self-care is the heart of healthcare. All you need to do is take one small step to enhance your health and well-being in mind, body, and soul. And I'll see you next week.